When we look back decades, our firm has spent, countless years fighting tobacco cases and what are called the Engle progeny cases here in Florida, which are opt-out from the original tobacco settlement back in the 90s. And what they are is they are cases about the plan and the execution by tobacco of convincing people that smoking was safe, and if not safe, at least not bad for you, and definitely didn't cause cancer, and there was nothing bad that could happen with all this nicotine. Well, what we saw as a result of these tobacco suits is the government stepped in, and the FDA said you need to put warnings on your boxes, and you need to tell people that it causes cancer and that it can kill you, and then they can make their own choice. Then they can really have free choice as far as what's going on. I mean, when we look back at the documents about what tobacco knew and when they knew it, they talk about, having these secret meetings in New York where they go out and hire scientists to write false advertising, false reports about what the harms of cigarettes were. And they talk about extensively, one of the most sickening parts about these tobacco cases is they talk extensively about how they're going to bring in what they call a new crop of smokers. And a new crop of smokers in tobacco world back in the 80s, 70s, and even into the beginning of the 90s meant high school kids. The documents are explicitly clear that what they are looking for and who they need to attract is the high school student. And the reason is that when we look at addiction, especially with cigarettes and nicotine products, that close to 92 or 93% of tobacco users and cigarette smokers develop that habit before the age they turn 18. That after that, you've only got about a 5% chance of hooking a person in nicotine. And after the time they reach 25 years old, you have about a 0% chance. People don't develop bad habits after that point in time. Now that's important because, when we talk to these neuroscientists and doctors that focus on addiction, what they'll tell you is that the human brain is developing and not fully mature until the time it reaches 26 years old. And that in that time period, you are able to physically alter the chemistry of your brain to hardwire it to need a certain product or addiction or drug or what have you. You are most susceptible to developing those bad habits and rewiring your brain to need it. And it makes sense. I mean, there's not many people that you can meet that say they started smoking at 35, right? I mean, it just doesn't happen. And so, and it's the same reason on the flip side where somebody could have quit smoking, for 10 years, 20 years, and then they have one cigarette and they're a pack-a-day smoker within 2 weeks. It's the way their brain has been wired because of that addiction. Now, when you look at the charts of the high school smokers, if we go back to the 70s and 80s, we would have, 50, 60, 70% sometimes of a high school class that was either a casual smoker or identified themselves as a full-blown smoker. When we got to, 2015, 2016, which is when JUUL first came on the market, people that identified themselves as a cigarette smoker was down under 5%. I mean, under 5% of the whole population ever smoked cigarettes. And I can't imagine smoking cigarettes. I grew up where there were, smoking sections in restaurants. And to me, that's shocking to even think back on, to think about walking into, a Friendly's ice cream shop and having the smoking section set up there. But that was life. And I would never smoke cigarettes. I don't think my kids would ever smoke cigarettes. I know that to them it's gross. It comes with a stigma. It comes with a smell. It comes with a nasty habit. You got to go outside. You have to hide it. There's all these things that go into smoking cigarettes. And it's become, kind of a pariah. People don't look at that as really cool anymore. They look at it like, how would you ever start doing that knowing it's going to kill you? So along comes JUUL in 2015, and what do? They set out with the old Silicon Valley of move fast and break things and say tobacco had a great model. Here's what their model was. They addict high school kids, and then they've got revenue for life, right? Because if we have these high school kids smoking cigarettes and we addict them and we know it's addicting, they can't quit. What are they going to do? They're going to keep buying our product. And what's also interesting about the research is that something close to 75 or 80% decide what brand they're going to be loyal to for life by the time they reach 18. There's not a lot of brands switching between Camel and Marlboro and et cetera as they go on. So they know this, and they go and they meet with an expert at Stanford. And it's a doctor that's devoted his life to studying addiction and studying the marketing campaigns of tobacco and how they were able to do what they did, how they got the youth, how they addicted the youth, how they attracted the youth, how they made it cool. They had playbooks, they had memos saying, here's what you need to do. You need to, take away, make it taste good. You need to make it cool. Take away, get cool people using it. Take away the stigmas. Minimize the harsh effects. These are all things that the founders of JUUL sat down and studied. And then we see what happens. They come out and they start advertising on TV. Originally, they traditionally market on TV, and you see their sales, and they're pretty competitive when you look at the Kantar spend of other e-cigarettes. And then I think it's 2017, they take basically their entire budget off of TV. And their sales skyrocket between 2017, 2019. It's just off the chart. So how do they take their TV advertising off and all of a sudden their sales are skyrocketing? It was simple. When tobacco did it, they would put it in cartoons, right? They would put their cigarettes in the Flintstones, and their argument would be, well, there's a lot of parents that watch the Flintstones. JUUL went to the cartoons. They took all of their money and put it in Instagram and put it in Twitter and put it in social media. And what does that do? Who does that target? It targets kids. Now the counter argument will be, well, there's adults on there too, and adults can choose to smoke, and we never set out to be a cessation device. We're an alternative if you don't want to do this, and adults can make their own decisions. Okay. Well, we spend millions and tens of millions of dollars on advertising a year, and we spend a lot of money on social media here at our firm. And one thing that I can tell you is that we can see who we're targeting. We can see the demographics. We can see the users of people that are interacting with our advertisements. It's not all happenstance. It's not like a billboard or a TV advertisement where you put it out there and you don't know exactly who's looking at it. They know that teenagers are looking at it. They know that teenagers are posting things called the JUUL Room. They know that they're putting out JUUL Life campaigns. They know who they're targeting, and they know how their money is being used and whether or not the return is showing it. And what we see is their sales skyrocket. 3.5 million people under 18 become addicted to JUUL. That's insane.